Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading 1 Samuel chapter 28. Uh, I apologize. And it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare to fight with Israel. And Achish said unto David, Know thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, Therefore will I make thee keeper of mine head forever. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him, and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. And the Philistines gathered themselves together, and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Then said Saul unto his servants, Seek me a woman that has a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servants said to him, Behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself, and put on other raiment, and he went, and two men with him, and they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life, to cause me to die? And Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw God's ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Then said Samuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? And the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me, for the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David, because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executest his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway. Then fall. Then Saul fell straightway, all along on the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night. And the woman came unto Saul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, Behold, thine handmaid hath obeyed thy voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and have hearkened unto thy words which thou spakest unto me. Now therefore I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, that thou mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. But he refused, and said, I will not eat. But his servants, together with the woman, compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he arose from the earth, and sat upon the bed. And the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted, and killed it, and took flour, and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof. And she brought it before Saul, and before his servants, and they did eat. Then they rose up and went away that night. In the previous chapter, 1 Samuel 27, David makes an agreement to live in the Philistine territory after concluding that Saul will never stop trying to kill him. David decimates neighboring populations, but is not honest with King Achish. The king believes David is attacking Israelite territories, indebting himself to Achish. The current chapter, 1 Samuel 28. The Philistines set up camp near Saul, preparing to war with Israel. Saul is fearful. He reaches out to God for guidance. When God does not respond, Saul consults a sorceress who tells him that he and his sons will die the next day. Actually, this is a bit error. Um, Saul, the sorceress doesn't tell Saul this. The sorceress calls up Samuel, the prophet, and Samuel's spirit tells Saul he's going to die. Summarizing 1 Samuel chapter 28 with a bit more detail, King Achish is preparing with the other Philistines to go to war with Israel. This king expects David to participate on behalf of the Philistines. David agrees, and Achish tells him, I'll make you my personal bodyguard for life, the keeper of mine head forever. In the previous chapter, David has been pillaging territories that are somewhat far from where the Philistines are because he doesn't have an income. He was living with King Saul. King Saul was also his employer, and he's his father in law. He's also the king of Israel, and he's trying to kill David. So he's able to use his influence to manipulate resources. David is just safer in this situation to be here in the Philistine enemy territory. The only thing about that is he doesn't have an income and he can't really expect the enemy to provide anything for him. We don't see him ask God for an answer, but he does go and pillage other territories. He decimates everyone so that no one can come back and tell King Gath what he's been doing. And he infers, he sort of like makes it seem like he's attacking other Israelite territories. So at the end of the previous chapter, King Ashish believes that David is indebted to him because he's made enemies with his own people. So now he's saying, I expect you to participate in battle on our behalf, and I will make you my personal bodyguard for life. David has already been anointed to be king, not a personal bodyguard. So we get to verse 3. Samuel's died. Israel mourned for him. He was buried. And then we see where the Bible tells us Saul banned all mediums and all people who consult the dead. So the Philistines in verse 4 to 6, the Philistines start setting up their camp so that they can prepare to go to war with Israel. And once again, like we've seen over and again since Saul became king, he got fearful. He asked God what he should do, and God didn't answer him. So then Saul asked his advisors to find a medium, to find a sorceress, so he can find some sort of answer. His advisors respond that there is a woman at a place called Endor that can provide the service. So Saul disguises himself with two men. He goes to this sorceress at night. The first thing the woman says is, "Are you trying to get me killed? You know, sorceresses, this type of service that you're asking me for is outlawed, and the penalty for doing this can be death." Saul said, "Don't worry about it, nothing will happen to you." So then the woman says, "Well, who do you want me to call up?" He tells her to bring up Samuel. Verse 12 was interesting to me because this woman was able to know his identity. When God made the command not to seek this type of knowledge from alternative sources like sorceresses or uh, astrology or anything like that, it isn't because the knowledge isn't correct. Sometimes information can be given too soon. That's really what I think happened with Adam and Eve. It's sort of like giving a 5-year-old car keys. They're not mature enough to handle that. I also believe there's some emotions humans aren't supposed to have, like jealousy. Uh, God can be jealous because he's God, but humans weren't meant to have an emotion like that. Just my additional thoughts when I read this. She was able to know Saul's identity because he's disguised himself. Bringing up this spirit was able to bring her more information that she didn't know. Saul asks her what she sees, she explains, and she describes Samuel. And so the way this is set up, or the way this is written, Saul is asking her what she sees. And then Saul has to ask her, what does he look like? So I wonder if she's the one speaking from verse 15, because it seems like Saul isn't able to see the spirit. He's got to go through her. So he's going through her for the first, what do you see? What does he look like? But then we get to verse 15 and Samuel begins talking. This is sort of written like he's talking to Saul directly. So I just thought that was interesting. So he calls Samuel up. Samuel says, "Why are you disturbing me?" Saul tells him, "God won't talk to me." And he says, "If God won't talk to you, why do you think I'm going to give you some more information?" The Lord did just as he said he would. He said he's going to tear the kingdom from you. And that was back when he didn't follow God's directions in 1 Samuel 15. And he tore Samuel's garment, trying to beg him to forgive him or give him some other information. And Samuel told him, like, God is going to tear the kingdom away from your hands. So he's saying this again. God is going to tear the kingdom from you and give it to David. The Lord did this to you because you refused to carry out the wrath against the Amorites. Again, 1 Samuel 15. One thing that I've noticed with Moses and now here with Saul, when God decides on a punishment, he makes sure that the person understands why clearly. This is the second time he's hearing this. The first time was in 1 Samuel 15. Samuel told him. So now he's hearing it again. The other thing Samuel tells him, you and your sons are going to die tomorrow, and you're going to be here with me. That's another thing that I thought about. Is Samuel in heaven or hell? Is there differentiation yet? Is this really Samuel who's talking? I mean, very interesting. I don't have any answers, but it's what I thought when I was reading this. After Saul gets this news, he faints because he ate nothing. The sorceress saw him and was like, "Hey, let me give you something to eat." Saul refused. And then verses 24 and 25, she made him a meal, and Saul and the men that came with him ate it and left. So that's what we have for 1 Samuel 28. Saul, once again, is allowing fear to motivate him. Thank you for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.